Hi, everybody.
There we go.
If you may or may not have noticed, we're having a party back here. We're
First of all,
live. We made it. It
guy's.
worked.
Are we online now, live?
Yeah, we made it. It
Yeah.
worked.
Oh,
We
I
did
won't
it.
tell you about that guy's wife then. Never mind.
Oh, okay. Well, you tell us about it
The
after the
girl
show's
from
over.
Ipanema, the track. The guy's wife is doing the vocal for it. They wrote this track about some hot girl they saw on the beach, and the guy called his wife and said, "Hey, got to write down some vocals on a track. Do you want to come down to the studio?" Imagine that phone call. She's like, "Yeah, sure. What's it about?" And maybe just come down and do the song. Yeah. The
Yeah, don't
actual
ask
girl from
questions.
Ipanema that they were looking at on the beach, she owns a boutique in Rio de Janeiro. She called her the girl from Ipanema. They tried to sue her, and she said, "Get fucked." Oh, good times. She's still there,
That's
as far as I know. She's just
Oh,
super old, and she runs
oh
the
my
boutique.
goodness.
that's wonderful. Welcome everybody back
That's
to
not
the
what
Bait
we're here
Hub.
today, is it?
This is our philosophy show.
Hey,
This is Barry and Opie. I'm Chesh.
hey.
Hello. How are you guys doing in 2026 so far?
Surviving.
I can't.
This is our
wait.
first one since the New Year's
Beginning of the
resolution.
year. The very
Oh my
beginning of the
goodness.
year. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to
'Cause-
crash a few episodes, didn't we?
Yeah, we had to crash a couple episodes. It happens. It happens. But welcome, everyone. I recommend you check out
Right.
our episodes
Rain
before
drove
this because we're getting into a little bit more
into
advanced stuff now. So if you're new
Yeah.
to philosophy, maybe check out some of our earlier stuff. Although we'll probably go back to some of the beginning stuff anyway once in a while,
Yeah.
just to give people a
I think
little
this
bit of a
episode
jumping
will
off
be
point.
perfect for people who know nothing about philosophy.
Yeah, definitely. We're talking about law and legal jargon. Jargon's not the right word. We got to talk about like different forms of how governments and systems like impose societal rules and which ones are effective
Yeah.
and which ones aren't effective and why or why not. And it's kind of gonna get cracked. But it's topical because ice exists.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What do you guys think? Do you guys have like a favorite form of, because like part of this is justice, right? Where you have to can't you like because justice can't really be defined, can it?
It's going to be different for everybody.
It's gonna be
Yeah.
different for everybody.
Can
But you
we
have
sus-
like morality. You have to come together as a
Yeah.
community and decide what it is that you want.
Right. I know that
What
we
kind of,
have
what
like
kind of world do you want to live in, you know?
yeah, we have like punitive justice, we have restorative justice, we have vindictive justice. So you could almost
Yeah.
pull up like the D&D alignment chart and be like justice of each variety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
No, that makes
Um,
perfect sense.
I guess the
I hate
first
that
real
makes
attempt
sense.
to try and the first attempt to try and cobble together something was done by Plato, I think, when he wrote the Republic. He was trying to put together from scratch. If you had to design a country from scratch, what would the law enforcement system? A lot of it is about law enforcement, not all of it. What
Yeah.
would the law enforcement system look like? And he came up with some really bad ideas. And he made the same mistake that every taxi driver I've ever been in a taxi with makes, which is at the end of his book, he decided that philosophers should be running everything. And
I
taxi
think
drivers
that's a bad
will tell you
idea.
that they should be running everything as well. If you're ever in a taxi with a man who talks about government stuff, he will tell you that he should be running everything. And I think that's a classic mistake made by Plato there. But also he makes another mistake where he starts off saying if we had to design a country from scratch, whereas in reality, no country is being designed from scratch. We're all in the middle of a continuum. So telling me
Yeah.
what would be, it's
Right.
like my dad used to tell a joke, which is also a true story. He was down in Kerry one time and he said, "How do I get to Tralee?" And the guy going to give him the directions said, "Well, I wouldn't start from here." And that's what
Right.
Plato's kind of doing. He's saying, well, the
If we wipe
great,
the board.
a great thing to do would be
Yeah.
to start from scratch, and even then he managed to get it wrong. But what's interesting about it is that it does force you to think about things and ask these questions, which is a
Yeah.
lot of the value of some philosophy is just in the fact that it forces you to ask questions, not in the fact that
Yeah.
the answers were any good. And that's especially true of the classic example I use is of Sigmund Freud, who asked all the right questions and got none of the right answers.
Yeah.
None of them.
To him, everything's is repressed childhood sexuality, but it turns out that's very not the cause of a lot of neurosis and so on. It's like nothing to do with it. But that was his answer. But he asked all the right questions. And in his time, he just saw a bunch of women being locked up in prisons and screaming their brains out. And everybody said, look at these crazy women. And he's the guy who figured out, no, they're not crazy. What they have is a completely reasonable reaction to living in a patriarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And being aware of exactly how shitty their lives are. That's a completely reasonable reaction, is to go nuts and start pounding on the door. And the men, instead of dealing with it, wanted to lock them up. And Sigmund Freud was the first guy, whatever else he did, to ask the right questions, saying, what if these women are not crazy?
It sets in the right direction. The value, I think, of philosophy has to do with, as individuals, doing the exercise of bringing things back to the base and asking the questions from the start, or starting to ask questions that are going to lead you back to the beginning, that then you can start building forward.
Or just questioning whatever's happening and saying, look, this doesn't seem right. There's something that seems off about this.
Or even if it does seem like it's
Can
fine,
we do anything about it?
ask about
Like,
it anyway.
remember, the reason people like The Matrix is because in one of the first scenes, somebody says to the guy, he says, don't you feel like that something's a little bit off about reality? You know? And I think everybody can kind of relate to that. Something's a little bit off about it, and we all relate. We can all relate to it in different ways. And one way is like to ask questions about what's happening. You know? Like, I can tell you a bunch of ways that I feel reality is a bit off. You know, and so can you. Like you were saying stuff in the chat we have on the Discord. You were talking about stuff there, like that would be part of that. You know?
Oh yeah.
It's a little bit off, yeah. So, like, law enforcement would be a part of that as well. Like, there's these people that we want to have in charge of us, and I have written on my arm here, "Quis custodiet ipsos custodes." I had that tattooed on my arm in 2007, and it means who watches the watchers, right? Who guards the guardians. So if you're going to have a police force in charge of everybody, the big question is, well, okay, who's watching those guys, right?
I think that's one question. I think the other question is that why do we have police officers particularly in a militarized standard, right?
You mean
a lot
armed?
of, well, not just armed, but like the way they're trained, the way they're executed, sort of the way the hierarchy works is similar to the way the military functions. And so why do we do it this way instead of another way? And again, we're not here to tell you guys what is right and what is wrong. We're here to posit the questions and expound upon them.
Well, Durkheim said that he gave it, I don't know if it was Durkheim, one of these sociologists, he defined the state, the nation state. How do you define a state? And his definition was, the state is whoever has the monopoly on violence.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's one way of defining it that I'd never considered before.
I think I've
my
heard
brain is
Dapper
goes to
talk
borders
about
and
that.
languages and so on.
It's
And
very commonly used.
I think Dapper, I heard
he
him
came up with
say...
that. It was Durkheim or the other guy, Emil Durkheim, or who's the other sociologist? What's his name?
Well,
You know, there's Durkheim and...
Merton.
No. Go on, never mind. Keep talking, I'll find out.
Don't ask me, I wouldn't know. I don't know anybody's name.
Oh. I mean, I don't think anybody here is like probably against like having any
Faber,
you know,
Max
we all
Faber.
understand. Oh, there we go. Yeah. No, like these institutions exist like as the idea of like having like, you know, a police force or something to, you know, have that monopoly on force and stuff like that. Not just violence, but just force in general. But like, it's now like, that's the thing that we, you know, want to respect. But now the part is like, you know, it's corruptible and there's always bad actors and the way it's run is the problem. And everybody has critiques of that, especially now today, you know. You can
Well,
see
it's not like every country does policing the same way, right? There are plenty of different
cops
ways.
are not armed.
Right.
In Ireland,
Cops in
they're not armed.
Canada, the cops in Canada are armed, but do not seem to have the same kind of issues that the United States.
No, but they're on horses, so that's different.
And
I
moose.
saw the TV show.
and moose.
Yeah. I saw that television
Like Tim
show.
Hortons mug.
No,
Excuse me, sorry.
so it's like we're not like, you know, like the problem is also like there's like a lot of police officers that are just there for good intentions and are normal people when they clock off and stuff like that. So like it's another
There's
thing
also like the issue of whether or not your police force is getting the care that they need, right? So if your society isn't getting the social care and I think we can all jump on board that if we're going to talk about the United States, we can acknowledge that the United States right now does not have very good social nets and is not in a socioeconomic positive place. So there's a lot of like
Wait, it doesn't have good social what?
institutions that are sort of falling apart.
Nets.
Sorry? social net.
Nets, yeah, sure,
Yeah,
sure.
social security net. And so, but the police, the officers, disregarding ICE for a second, putting them in a shelf on the side, are going to be different from state to state, and how much resources and money they have is going to be different state to state. And are your police officers getting the training they need and the funding they need to do the jobs that they're expected to do? And are they getting the emotional and social support that they need? Like you're a cop, you go through some crazy situation, and now you're on a hairline trigger, and you've just got to go back to work the next day.
Sometimes you got to let go those people go. They're just not fit for service anymore, you know.
And so if that happens,
out.
do you end up on the street the same way like a military veteran does?
But the problem is a job like that where you can have potentially a lot of power over people.
Yes.
And potentially very little accountability, that will attract violent psychos.
Yes. Yes.
There's a bunch of jobs like that you can think of. Yeah. And it's I don't know how you're supposed to weed them out, because violent psychos will ace any cop test you give them.
Yeah.
You know, so
no. And then the other part is like, so I ran into this issue like while getting pulled over. Like there's certain like they have their job is to enforce the law, even if it's a dumb law, and they know there's a lot of dumb laws on there. So like if you like don't have your car insurance card or something like that, they have to give you a ticket. Like they can't just like write you off like, hey, warning and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things where
why I think what needs to change is the philosophy around policing. Right now, the philosophy around policing, particularly, again, we're gonna pick on the United States because they're a really big red dartboard right now.
Yeah.
Like, hey, wow, look at how all of these issues are being blatantly shown and are showing in very extreme ways to make them easy to talk about. So if you're in the States, sorry. The United States right now is the level of corruption that they're dealing with on top of the level of collapse that they're dealing with. You get this, the philosophy around policing for a really long time has been about incarceration and about punishment and doling and like oppressive power, as opposed to quote unquote supporting the community like you might see somewhere else.
In Ireland we had in Ireland we had a corrupt police department, corrupt, like I don't know how corrupt you'd call it, but we had a whole tribunal about it called the Morris Tribunal, and it was just about the police departments in County Donegal. It says here in Wikipedia, the Morris Tribunal was a public inquiry to address allegations of the 1990s against the Gardaí. The Gardaí is what Ireland has, what we call the police, are called the Gardaí Síochána. Subjects explored include suggestions of corrupt and dishonest policing in Donegal, but its recommendations and conclusions have been more widespread consequences. And there's a whole thing about it. One thing they were doing is they were just not giving speeding tickets to people who were their friends. They were people were ringing up the police station and saying, "Can you get my speeding ticket cancelled?" All this kind of stuff, you know, like deeply corrupt stuff. And it wasn't even like for money; it was just because they were friends with the people. Donegal is like bandit country anyway. You know the map of Ireland, and the bit of Ireland that's up above Northern Ireland, that's Donegal. It's windswept and interesting. And it's full of like Germans and also people who speak Irish as a native language.
It kind of sounds like something getting nipped in the bud, like before it turns it, because that's how it starts, right? Oh, I'm just doing my friend a favor. It's like, oh well, now people are currying favors with you and currying friendship with you to get favor, right? Like that's the snowball effect. So if you can nip it in the bud and deal with it while it's serious. In I wish I could remember what state it was. Was it Massachusetts? No, I think it was one of the ones that starts with an M. Minnesota, maybe? No, I don't know.
Maine.
One of the
Missouri.
Maybe I don't know. One of them they had voted locally to get rid of the no fault. Like if a police officer shoots somebody, they had voted to get rid of it, and the entire police station walked out. They were like, no, we're not going to do this job if we're going to be held responsible for doing things
weird,
on
right?
the job.
That's the thing is like, it's called a diplomatic immunity. It's like police immunity. So it has to do with the fact that like I think
it's called qualified immunity.
Qualified immunity.
That's maybe. So it has to do with the fact that like it has to do with like also case law, like, so if it's on the books currently, if the Constitution or the state constitution does not like say that that was a bad thing, and this is the first instance that this was like now deemed a bad thing, that first person, it's not as like, that's why it's that, but like it's also dumb because like now this one person's getting away with it, but now nobody else can, at least. So
I mean, I think that kind of makes sense, but at the same time, the issue with the qualified immunity is that you ought to hold people in power to a higher standard. And when you introduce something like qualified immunity, to be like, I can do whatever I want, basically, well, as it gets corrupted. Well, as it gets corrupted, and the way qualified immunity has been, like, just degraded over time, it's no longer, oh, it's the first time. It's, no, you just don't get in trouble if you're breaking the law because you felt like you needed to do your job.
You get 2 weeks on leave and come back later,
Right, slap on the wrist, take a vacation.
Yeah. Apparently, a lot of these police stations, they act like they're like fraternities almost, where they just back each other up regardless, even when they know that someone has done something that's definitely illegal, which is a very strange thing, but it happens, I guess.
In a lot of cases, those function no different than organized crime gangs,
Right. And so I think, to me, it comes down to
organized crime gangs have a moral core to them, I think.
I know, right? Isn't that ironic there?
Yeah. What does the society want from its police force, and what is the philosophy around the police force in the first place? But you have this problem of law, right? And the way the law has been corrupted in the United States seems to be an issue of twofold issue: making money, because you have pay to play. Well, you have pay to play laws, and you have pay to play judiciary systems, and you have pay to play jail and prisons. Right? So all three of these major factors, these major pillars in a lawful society, are all about fucking making money, which means like it's corrupted, because as soon as you have money, you do whatever the fuck you want, right?
Yeah.
So then,
to add to that philosophy thing though later.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess like when we're asking people what do they want like on a police force, it's like not the police force itself, but law. It's like, it's the question of, do you want one person to go get away with murder for the other 9 out of 10 to like, innocent people, and vice versa? Like, would you want one innocent person to go to jail if it meant being more strict on laws and stuff like that? So
like the guilty innocent thing. I don't know. To me, at least as an outsider looking in, the guilty or the innocent till proven guilty just seems like not the way the law functions.
No.
In reality, it's a nice idea, but it's not like really the way things are functioning.
A lot of times in small towns, that's also not the case, because like, just how people function, like we are more suspicious than giving the benefit of doubt in general,
Yeah. Like, no matter how many times you say it to them, a jury will think that a refusal to answer a question under your Fifth Amendment rights can be taken as evidence of wrongdoing.
Yeah.
There is constitutional and Supreme Court precedent which dictates that cannot be the way you do things. Someone exercising their rights in any case for any reason cannot be taken as evidence of guilt of anything. That's why there are rights.
Yeah, there's also a really big...
But any jury will. I refuse to answer that question. Okay,
That's suspicious. Why?
Because
it's like, I refuse to be searched, or I refuse to da-da-da. Well, if you have nothing to hide, why would you be concerned about it? There's also like another problem with that when it comes to how illiterate a lot of individuals who live in a society are to their laws.
Oh, but there's like 10,000 laws. Like, we can't keep track of all of them. If a cop pulls you over, they can get you on, 6
Well, and
ways
half
to
the
Sunday.
time the cops don't know it either.
No.
Yeah.
So
I've seen
there's
videos
like
where the guy
really
asked what law he was being arrested under, and the cop didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of issues with that come with like things that are easily corrupted. So it's nice to have an ideal, but it's needs to be understood that it is in fact an ideal, it's what we're striving towards, not what we have. Right?
Well, it will be constantly evolving. It has to, because the needs of the community will be constantly evolving. So law enforcement will have to constantly evolve. You can never say, this is it, we're done. It won't be possible.
Well, and I don't think we should use law enforcement as a crutch for other issues. Like, I think that what happens is, like, a lot of things get dumped onto policing that shouldn't be the police's job, and
Or
it's
it should be like
and then it
social.
ends up staying there instead of being like, listen, you guys have to deal with this for now while we build up what we need to build.
It should be
Then it gets
social
taken
worker
away.
stuff.
Never. Right, right. So, like,
Yeah, yeah.
I
Or
also think
community
that police
leaders.
need to be
Yeah.
way better educated when it comes to like
I'm not sure
just.
putting drug addicts in jail is going to help anybody. I don't think that's a good idea.
Well, that's another thing. Is the crime violent or not?
Hmm.
And how do you want to approach that? Because if you treat a corporation like a person and suddenly property becomes a injury to a person, basically, you've thrown the whole system out of whack.
Yeah, vice
Oh, I
crimes are
remember
weird.
there was a law in Florida once that said if you see somebody coming towards your property and you feel threatened, you're legally entitled to shoot them, right?
When
This
they
law was on
step
the
on your
books.
property.
Yeah, there's the stand
Well,
your ground
this
laws
is just
in
if you
some
see them
states.
approaching with intent or whatever, you're still you that will be regarded as legally okay. So this is the problem with the law. It's stupid. But they were going to pass another law that said the inside of your car is regarded as your own personal property,
Yeah.
right? So
Yep.
now you have a situation where you can just drive by people and and legally get away
Oh,
with it. So they
Yeah, and
did
be
not
like,
pass
well,
that
they
law,
were
as it turns out.
approaching my property in a way that I thought was
But I've seen
aggressive.
people. There's something about getting into a car that changes somebody's psychology. I've seen people whose whole demeanor changed when they're inside a car. Everything became us versus them. I can't believe how stupid all these drivers are. Don't people know how to use a crosswalk anymore? Oh my God, everybody's so stupid. This kind of thing, you know, no introspection, no anything, just me versus them. And outside the car, they're fine. So I don't know, man. You are not stuck in traffic, mate. You are the traffic. Just get used to it.
I
Oh,
I like to just relax and be like,
not when you're driving, I hope.
I'm not the one driving. I just sit in the back and let it
Okay.
go of all my problems and be like, if we crash, we
Also,
crash. It's not up to
Opie
me.
was
I don't
talking
have
about
to worry about it.
Opie was talking about organized crime there before, and I thought of something. In Ireland, we had organized crime gangs run by the IRA in Northern Ireland.
yeah.
But those organized crime gangs, and as far as I know, it's like this in Sicily and in Naples and in those parts, and in Calabria in Italy as well, that organized crime gangs can only really grab a hold on the infrastructure, the social infrastructure of a place where civil institutions have broken down. Where for some
Yes.
reason, the regular people cannot trust the police force. Like there's a famous story of a girl whose cat was stuck up a tree and she called for help. And the RUC, the English police force, came out in a tank with armed guys, shot the cat, and said, there, problem solved, and went back.
Technically true. Also really
Yeah.
expensive.
Another
It's out
story
of the
was
tree
told
now.
to me to my face in Londonderry, as they call it. We call it Derry, they call it Londonderry. And in Derry, a man told me that this is how the IRA policed the place, right? Because they can't they can't take advantage of any government programs, so they have to do everything on their own. So there's a guy who ran an electrics shop, and somebody stole a bunch of stuff from his shop, televisions. So this guy went to the IRA, and he said, someone robbed my shop. And the following morning, all those televisions were outside his shop, right? Returned. So he went to the IRA man, and he said, what happened there? And he said, do not ask any questions. He said, you have your stuff back. You don't care anymore now. You're done. You're finished with this, right? That is clearly a suboptimal law enforcement strategy, right? You
It was
cannot
probably
be
the IRA
I don't
in the
know.
first place.
nationally.
It worked.
It was probably
No,
the
it's
IRA in the first
suboptimal
place.
because it's utterly opaque. You cannot have I mean, it worked, yeah, but
Yeah.
you cannot have a law enforcement strategy
So
that's judicially opaque because these
Yeah.
guys are the same guys who, if they find a guy dealing drugs in their communities, will shoot him.
Yeah.
mhm.
It's
So
like,
all you
well,
have
you've
to do
gotten
if you
rid of
want to
the
get
drug
someone
problem,
shot,
but yeah.
all you have to do to get someone shot is to convince someone in the IRA that he's selling drugs.
Right.
That's not judicially optimal at
Acceptable.
all.
Right.
No,
And the
it's
IRA,
witch hunting.
in this case, I suppose they're doing the best they can to protect their communities in a situation where they regard themselves at war with the United Kingdom.
Right.
As far as I know, it's not like that anymore. And those IRA guys all just moved into normal kind of organized crime stuff
Yeah,
like prostitution and gambling. But back then,
not just
they
that,
were
but
like the
also running
ersatz police
office.
force.
They have their own parties now.
They have their own parties. Yeah. No, they always had a party. Sinn Féin always had a party, but Sinn Féin.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll tell you some other time. Yeah.
It's one of
Funny.
those things where you need as a society need to come together to decide what do you want the law to do.
Yeah.
Do you want the
Absolutely.
law to oppress people? Because it's
Yeah.
going to have to some degree. That's what it's for. So if you want the
Everybody
law
can't do
to
anything they want.
it needs to it's going to you have to accept that if you're going to introduce law enforcement, it is in fact enforcement and it is in fact rules. So it is going to oppress people and it is going to hold a level of power and a level of violence over top of other people. So then you have to decide, okay, well, how do we ensure that those things do not get corrupted, and what do we want the policy or what do we want the philosophy to be around that to ensure that it is not going to be, one, corrupted, or two, taken advantage of, or three, have things get like have it behaving in a way that ends up being the problem rather than the solution.
We could make a version of that my care framework that I've developed over time, basically for
This
this. And
motherfucker.
it works every fucking time.
Works every fucking time.
No, it really does for this case.
Yeah.
Because clarity and transparency throughout, its entire institution is very important for this
I like the idea of body
the
counts on
populace to
everybody.
understand.
Buddy cops.
And then accountability,
What body
obviously, is
cams?
and then revisability, being able to change and correct itself, and then integrity. It's want and desire to do good about it. So
Yeah.
I think that having the laws simplified and well educated throughout your community is probably a good thing. And I think not having to utilize law enforcement or have law enforcement active as little as possible is probably what you want to have. So if
Yes.
society can you can have social consequences for what you're doing that are enough of because the law enforcement isn't really a deterrent, it's an enforcement. It means that something has already happened that quote unquote was not supposed to happen. So they're not really preventative, they're responsive and reactive. So what do you want them to be responding to, and how do you want... So, for example, you want to take, again, we'll take the United States. Canada works as well. And let's talk about, a drug deal, right? A drug deal going on, and these are two people. Let's just call it only two people for now. It's not gangs, it's just two people. And they're exchanging money for drugs. And the drugs are illegal, for whatever reason, all right? And then the cops show up. Now the situation is violent. The situation was not violent because it was just an exchange of money for product.
Yeah.
So it was still illegal, but it was not a violent crime. But
No,
if the
but it
cops
made it
show
worse.
up, now it is escalated. Do you want your law enforcement escalating something that is not violent into violence?
Well, how do you regulate that then? How do you deal with that in a non-police violent way?
I don't know. I'm not here to give solutions.
Well, you could legalize all drugs. That would solve a lot of that.
What I would suggest is decriminalizing, not necessarily legalizing.
I'd
right,
legalize
so-
them.
I think you probably would, but I think you'd want to decriminalize them first. And you'd have to
Particularly
go in
things
order.
like heroin. If you legalized heroin, that would be the end of all those problems.
A lot of it.
Yeah, a lot of people would not
I
want
mean,
to
a whole
take it
chunk
after.
of it, yeah. Like all heroin-related crime would disappear overnight.
Yeah,
And most of the
yeah.
heroin problem
I think we
in
talked about
communities
this,
is
last year.
heroin-related crime rather than the actual addiction.
we did. Yeah. I think that if you try to remove the police from any type of situation that is not violent, when they're the ones escalating it into violence, you're already heading a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
The fewer people we end up hurting, the better. We can agree on that.
But if it's already if the situation's already escalated, violent or damage of property, at that point, that's probably where every
Then we call in the
citizen
SWAT
would
team.
be probably happy that somebody's trying to stop it from happening.
I think that there's a question around property as well. I really think that I think there's been a flip where property is considered more valuable than people.
On the books,
Yes.
I would say
Yeah.
so.
So I think that's a bit of an issue.
I think the
Oh,
Parthenon in Athens is probably more valuable than I am.
Probably,
Well, yeah.
but it depends on how you're like. I mean, Barry and I talked about that before. I'm like, the human life has no value.
Yeah. Well, depending on
It's
what you mean by value, yeah.
Yeah,
it's valued by the people that value you. So
I like that we're on an
Yeah,
angle
everything's
where Opie is
tautological.
slowly sinking.
I'm slowly
Barry
sinking
is-
down.
Have either of you heard of the Zurich heroin trials or the Lisbon heroin trials?
No.
No.
Okay, you're going to like this. In Zurich and Lisbon, they ran a program called the heroin trials where they legalized heroin. And they set up a
Okay.
system, and they set it up like this. Anybody can go to this little special doctor who lives in a box somewhere in the village square, say, give me as much heroin as I want. That person will legally prescribe them however much heroin they want. Diamorphine, it's called in hospitals, right? They give
Yep.
you as much heroin as you like. You go and get to the dispensary next door. They are specially set up to deal with you. They give you as much heroin as you want. No questions asked, clean needles, whatever. And there's another place where you can do your business, right? Now, this, of course, is very difficult to get past an electorate if anybody on the slate is right wing. It's very difficult. But what they discovered in both those cases is that it dropped heroin use by about 50% in 2 years.
Yep.
Those
Yeah,
numbers
it's
are insane.
it's incredibly effective. We've done it in Canada
And the
for
reason
some drugs.
they're not entirely sure why, but they think it's something to do with just the psychology of it. Because being a heroin addict means you're on the outsides of society, you're a criminal, you're a worthless piece of shit.
Yeah.
And it might have a certain kind of an outlaw glamour attached to it as well. I don't know why, but it might do. Now you're a patient who suffers from a problem and you're being treated for that problem.
Yes.
And that is not cool. And if you're being treated for a problem, there's a different psychology to it,
Yeah.
which makes you more of a member of society, I guess. It makes you more connected to the whole community because I'm being treated for a problem called diabetes, right?
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm outside the loop or anything. And
They
it's very interesting. It's very
There's,
interesting.
um,
And you don't put any pressure on them to quit or anything.
Yeah.
Also, my dad, and this is another thing they discovered about heroin, my dad was in hospital once for pancreatitis, which is a very painful thing.
Yeah.
And they had him on a diamorphine tap, right? Diamorphine is the pharmaceutical grade heroin. And on the tap, you have a button to press anytime you want to get a dose of heroin. If you're having diamorphine, anytime you're feeling painful, right? What they discovered is that in almost every case, if you are in control of the button, you will use much less diamorphine than if someone comes around every 4 hours and zaps you, which was the previous system. Also, my dad was on this tap for 2 weeks, constantly banging himself with heroin, and as soon as he came out of the hospital, he had no desire for diamorphine at all.
interesting.
So when you say somebody's addicted to something, there's a lot of more psychology in it than we like to think.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
usually
My dad
the
was taking
situation they're in
heroin
and
pretty
that they're running
consistently
from it.
for 2 weeks. And at the end of it, he had no desire at all to take any more because psychologically to him, that's treatment for a disease. And that's because he was in pain and he's not in pain anymore. Or if he was in pain, it wasn't as bad as it was
The whole
when he had his
context. Yeah,
pancreas.
the whole
context,
context changes.
yeah. And also they
People
didn't call
take
it heroin, they called it
Those
diamorphine.
kind of people take those kind of drugs to run away from the shitty
Yeah.
situation that they're in.
That's another
So
problem.
if you're
With
putting them
people are
into a
basically
gooder
self-medicating for
situation.
misery. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're self-medicating for misery. And people who take cocaine are self-medicating for something
Well,
else.
it's
Because I guess
all
maybe there's
still-
not enough hours in the day.
It's all still medicating for pain, and you're self-medicating for that
Yeah.
pain, and you have no real space, and
that's
you're
true of
stressed
heroin
out,
anyway,
and it's
yeah.
making it worse. Yeah, it's just a constant. It's just constant,
Sure.
and you never get a
That's
break
only
from
true
it,
of some
right?
drugs. There's other drugs
Yes.
that's not true of at all. I think people taking
Yes.
ecstasy, maybe, and MDMA are not self-medicating for any problem they have. They just like
Sure.
the buzz they get off it for. That's a different thing. And again, they're harming no one as far as I'm concerned. They're
Right,
harming
No,
in
they're at a
in
rave,
those
like-
scenarios, yeah. There's
Yes.
it's one of those things where when you
Diamorphine
change,
is heroin.
it's the
Victoria.
same. It's the same with
Diamorphine is heroin.
it's the same
It's
as
exactly.
if you change.
Sorry, I'm talking to somebody in the chat. It's exactly
Yeah,
the
yeah.
same chemical. There is no difference at all, except diamorphine is pharmaceutical grade heroin, meaning it doesn't have any impurities. Other than that, it's exactly the same thing. No,
There's
no,
a,
it's not. It's the same. Look it up. Go to Wikipedia. It's not.
You gotta let the chat catch up. There's about a
Yeah.
10 to 30 second delay.
Oh yeah, sorry.
The there's
Sure, every
a
drug does.
there's also going to be differences depending on where you live, depending on who's giving you what in what fucking hospitals. Right, so like if you're in the United States, or you're in Canada, or you're in Ireland, or you're in Mexico, or your different hospitals are going to have different standards for the drugs that they're using. A lot of them will have the same names though, because those are relatively standardized. The When it comes to policing, to bring it back to law enforcement, it's the same thing that like the context is exactly the same type of thing, that the psychology around how does your society view your police right now versus what is their expectation and what do they want. So if everybody expects the police to be violent and they perceive the police as violent, then it doesn't matter if the police actually are in fact violent or not, because every time that they are, it's going to seem like more than it is to everybody else. It's just going to self-justify, right? Even if they're not.
Different situation.
Even if they're not. So on the other hand, though, but if you want your police to be here, but you think your police are here, but the police are somewhere in the middle, actually in real life, nobody's really actually fucking dealing with the problem at that point, because the context is so all over the place.
In Ireland, it's the opposite. In Ireland, if a cop gets violent with someone, it will be national news. It will be on the news headlines that day if a cop gets violent. You expect the police to be non-violent here.
Right. So if you have that context in the United States, I don't think people expect the police in the United States to be non-violent. I think they expect them to be violent more often than not.
Especially in different regions states. Where, well, not just states, but like neighborhoods. I mean, if you're in like the northwest suburbs of like an urban center, you're not going to have as much of an issue as like, inner city, I would say. So
yeah, there's also like what is the context that the cop is even operating in, right? So that's like your NYPD, right? So then again, you also have media. And if you look at any media coming out of the United States, if you're looking at cop movies, they're all fucking action movies. Which is like all drugs and guns and violence everywhere all the time. So that's like a whole other thing that affects the perception. Now, all right, let's take the ice box off the shelf for a hot minute. ICE exists, which is, if the United States police weren't already militarized, which in my opinion, the way they operate is very militarized. Their training has a lot to do with it. That's my opinion. You can disagree with me. That's fine. We can talk about that another day. The ICE is definitively a federal arm doing policing inside of states.
Yeah.
Regardless of the desire of that state. And they are very much being equipped by the federal government, and it's very much military grade gear.
It's military.
What are our thoughts on that? What's the philosophy behind ICE?
Or not just that, but any federal enforcement system like FBI or stuff like that, Well,
I'm not even sure that the FBI and ICE have the same philosophy around them.
No, they don't. But they do similar things where they go across, state borders and enforce laws from the feds in various states, specifically. So one just has to do with immigration specifically. The other one has to do with all kinds of different things. So
yeah,
we have a person that's much more expertise on 3-letter organizations in the middle of us right now. So
Barry, would that be you?
I don't know much about ICE in particular. Seamus is the guy who handles all the domestic stuff. I only do the CIA stuff on the podcast, but he would know more about this than I do. But like, if you want to talk about the philosophy of it, it seems to be less of a philosophy issue and more of a separation of powers issue. And I think in America, there's often a very confused conflict between, like, if I'm in let's say California's age of consent is 18, right? And in Nevada, let's say it's 16. So if I bang a 16-year-old in California, that's a California crime, and I go to California jail, right? Yeah. But if I drag a 16-year-old from Nevada into California to have sex with her, that's a federal crime, and now I'm subject to the FBI. For what is essentially the same crime.
Right.
And the whole American legal system is like that. It's all like the federales kind of come in at certain points and it's never entirely clear to anyone what's happening or why.
So that's a transparency
ICE
issue
is a federal
and
program,
cohesive.
and they've
Yeah.
been sent in on the basis that these people were attacking the union rather than attacking that state,
Oh,
because otherwise the
okay.
federalism would get solved.
Right.
And
But now it's
but then like I don't think it's a matter of philosophy. I think it's a matter of taking advantage of certain understandings of the separation of powers to just do this fucking far right flush of brown people. I think that's pretty much all it is.
it's just door kicking, basically.
It's just door kicking, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
it's
in
just
Ireland,
a,
I don't know
it's just
what
a
it's like over
step
there,
in
but in
the
Ireland,
authoritarian fascist playbook, right?
we have people like that in Ireland, far right people, and thankfully they're pretty much entirely marginalised, right?
Yeah.
Due in part to the electorate of Sinn Féin, which I will tell you about in a bit. But these people say things like, "Oh, all the foreigners have to go home" or whatever, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you sent all the foreigners home, our health service would collapse in about 4 seconds.
Yeah.
Our entire health service would be non-functional, and a country without a health service is itself non-functional. It's not. It doesn't have civil institutions if you have no health service. So your whole country is fucked. Not my whole country is fucked without foreigners.
Yeah, everyone
Which
is.
is so anybody
All three of
saying
us are
anything
from
else is
different
not-
countries, and you can see what's happening in each of them. If you look at Ireland,
Yeah, and this is Ireland.
and yeah, if you look
We
at
don't,
Ireland,
we don't have people being dragged out of houses in the middle of the night, so I can only imagine how much worse it is in Minnesota. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Florida,
For
Yeah.
really bad.
Because you didn't stamp your visa 10 years ago? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? This guy works in the hospital. This lady is making burgers for people. You know what I mean? Like, what are
Yeah.
you doing with your life?
I think there's
You ain't
a,
hurting nobody.
I think there's an arrogance that comes with it, right? To be like, oh, you took our jobs, but those are jobs that we don't want to do, but we're better than you are. So it's like, it's ridiculous.
And these
It's
guys
really
are
circular.
incompetent, by the way. The ICE agents are incompetent. They're out of shape. They're not the smartest people. They're just reactionary fuckheads. And it's
A lot of
horrible
them
watching
are-
them.
Like, horrifically, like, online. Like, they live their lives on the internet
Yeah.
type of people.
It's horrible watching them pull people out of cars in the street. And why
Yeah.
are you pulling this person out of the car? Because they're Mexican and they have to go home. Like, come on.
Well,
man.
how many women have already been abducted and assaulted by people that
By
were
ICE
definitely
agents.
ICE agents?
Yeah.
Well,
then
by
they're
ICE
masked.
agents
They
and
won't-
people that are also definitely ICE agents because they're masked, they're
Yeah, they're
not
masked.
marked,
They wear
they're
masks
not, they
and-
don't have proper
come on, man.
paperwork, anything.
Even the Gestapo would like not wear masks. They just go in and grab you.
Right.
Hello, it's the Gestapo.
Well,
Hello.
the populace then would,
Hey, Jews.
thankfully, like that's because a populace would let them do that, you know. But in this case, like in our
Well,
country,
yeah.
specifically, none of them are let it. Like
It was
people
not
are
a
upset
federal
about
problem
it,
in Germany.
obviously.
That's true. Yeah.
It's,
were not
it
the
depends on what you
federales
mean by it depends on what you mean by let. Like like there is a portion of the United States citizens
would
that are
cower in
okay with
Gestapo, I
this
guess.
or are cheering it on. And then there's a portion of
Yeah.
the population that is not okay with this, and then an even smaller portion of the population that is not okay with this and ready to do something about it. And that's
Well,
something.
we have to acknowledge that a lot of Germans were perfectly happy with the Nazis.
That's the
they
same with,
wanted
like, that's
this
what yeah,
because-
that's exactly what I'm saying. There's a large portion of the United States
Or
population.
completely
1920s
unaware of
and
the
30s
actual
across Europe.
situation too.
Yeah, there is
Across
some.
Europe, there was a very bad, it's hard to imagine, but there was a very bad anti-Semitism problem in Europe in the 1930s, not in Germany. Anti-Semitism was a function almost of Christianity and Roman Catholicism in particular. So any countries that were heavy in Roman Catholicism would have been very anti-Semitic, like Ireland, like Germany. Well, Germany didn't really have a heavy Roman Catholic, but all the top Nazis were Roman Catholics. All of them. They weren't Lutherans like most Germans are. Hitler was a Catholic. Who's the Brains Trust? The Goebbels. Goebbels was a Roman Catholic, and so on and so forth. In some places, when they made it to Lithuania, the Nazis made it to Lithuania. They discovered all the Jews had already been dealt with by the Lithuanian authorities before the Nazis got there.
Mm.
So it's not like a Nazi thing, anti-Semitism. Nazis just
Right.
industrialized it.
Yes.
It was all over Europe. Everybody hated the Jews.
Yep. There's a
Yeah,
long
for no reason, by the way. For no
thing.
good reason. Jews weren't like high rating in crime or anything. They were nothing
Well, you just
like
take
that.
Jews and you replace it with
Most
It's
of
a
the-
immigrants
It's a yeah.
Yeah.
or trans people
Well,
or
Hitler's arguments
whatever
against Jews
group.
made no sense at all. On the one side, he said they're the progenitors of communism, right? Because Trotsky was Jewish, Lenin was Jewish, Marx was Jewish, The head of the guy who set up the NKVD was Jewish. The first three managers of the NKVD is the Russian secret police. Sorry, the first three managers of the NKVD were Jewish. So he's saying, oh, it's a Jewish, communism is Jewish. But then he also said capitalism is Jewish because they run all the banks, Rothschild and so on. They run all these banks, which they did. But you can't, like, what are you going to say? You're going to say Jewish? It doesn't make any sense. All you're saying then is just that Jews tend to rise to the top of whatever they're doing.
Yeah, exactly.
The Jews are just incredibly competent. Like, surely we should hire them, not kill them. You know, so thank you very much for whatever you're doing.
I just double checked it because I wanted to be sure that I had my numbers correct. Keeping in mind that ICE was formed on March 1st, 2003.
Yeah.
2003, ICE has been going on, and ICE has been doing
It was Homeland Security style, Post 9/11
because it was
they would have replaced a different organization that would have been doing much the same thing. I guess the INS they would have caused it. Would it before ICE?
I don't remember.
Because I can remember Mexicans running away from special police units in the 80s in Los Angeles.
Yeah,
so I think they're INS.
There's the BBTD basically would be that. But
yeah, they're a part of the DHS.
I don't visit porn sites, so I don't know what any of that stuff stands for.
Oh, Border Patrol. Sorry.
Yes, CBP is Customs and Border Patrol.
But I think they used to call it INS, the Immigration and Naturalization Service, and they had special cops that they weren't attached to the regular police forces. Like if you go to Americans, like in California, they have like municipal police, right, for the cities. They have state troopers for the state. They have the sheriff's department, which is for all the non-incorporated areas. Like, the whole thing is a mess.
Well, and then sheriffs are also voted in.
Yeah.
Sorry?
The populace votes in. Sheriffs are voted in from our populace.
Yes. Yeah.
Primary.
And the sheriff will administer police over all the areas that are not incorporated as cities.
Yeah.
So vote on your sheriffs, guys. Pay attention to your local elections.
It just makes just
pay attention to your
weird.
sheriffs, yeah.
And then if someone brings someone across the border for something, then the federales get involved. If it's a crime against a state institution, like the post office, now it's a federal crime and the FBI are going to solve it, not your local police.
No, the post office has their own police department.
That's even worse. I know. Not helping me. I need fewer. I don't need more cops.
The chaos.
USPS cops.
That's what, but this is what we're getting
cops.
at. You need to have like some kind of streamlined something going on, because how is anybody even so? Everyone is breaking a law in the United States 24/7 all of the time.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, you don't even know what law you're breaking. You watching right now, you're breaking a United States law. You're doing it. It's happening.
I'm breaking the law right now. You can't see because the camera stops there, but I'm breaking the law right now.
Yeah, it's happening. It's happening.
There's
thousands and you would never know
on the books.
Yeah. Yes. And it's absurd. How do you expect anybody to follow any law ever? And like that's the excuse, right? It's confusing and you're not educated about it on purpose.
No. And we don't remove useless ones. You know.
Yeah.
There's no sunset. There's no sunset on dumb ones. Like, you know, you're not allowed to have an ice cream cone in the back pocket walking on the street. That's a law, technically. I mean, yes, that's like a pointless one. But like now let's apply it to other ones where, like, you know, probably don't even need it in our society anymore at this time. And, you know.
Yeah.
No one
Things
needs
that need to be updated. Or, like, again, it's one of those things where, what do you want? What do you want your police force to be doing if you're going to have one?
What kind of world do you want to live in?
What kind of world do you want to live in? And so these are things that you have to consider if you want to... You cannot change anything or make any adjustments to anything if you don't know what you want. And you have to think about the things that you want, and then you have to think about, okay, great, now that I know what I want, what steps do I need to go to get to what I want? Because if
you have to organize on the ground politically.
Right.
And people are allergic to that because they're too fucking busy making money. They have to have jobs to pay the rent. And it's very difficult to give a shit enough to organize politically when the system has you working flat out and however many hours a day. So you can say, look, there are ways out of all these things. All of this right-wing capitalist shite. But most of it involves organizing on the ground politically. Coming together in groups like a union. Coming together in groups and saying, no, cannot do this anymore. And the policing issues that they have in America are the same. But I know people when I was in California, I knew people who had like 3-4 jobs. And expecting those people to turn up to a union meeting on a Friday night might just have been inhuman. Just to pay rent and afford enough things that they need to finish their college and so on. It's insane.
The world is an unfair place, and if you want it to be more fair, you need to consider these things, and then you need to work together, because you outnumber everything else. There's no way you don't.
Well, UBI would fix that as well. And UBI, I think, eventually the big money is going to realize that UBI does not threaten capitalism. UBI is the only thing that can save it.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, specifically with the fact that automation is going to get rid of a lot of jobs,
the AI stuff. Yeah.
Well, but the thing is, like, we should be celebrating that kind of replacement, because who wants to do those shitty jobs anyways? Like, we have a little bit more human.
That was the whole point of that's the whole point of automation, was to get rid of jobs nobody wanted to do. And the whole point of AI is to get rid of jobs that nobody wants to do. Not the jobs we want to do, the jobs we don't want to do.
Yeah, like AI now is doing art and writing stories and so on. I want to do art and write stories, and I want AI to do the shitty things.
Yeah, go do my dishes.
Yeah.
Or, the what is it, at the fast food, ordering food, you can have an AI do that for a lot of things nowadays. So you don't need
I'm down. Like, as long
why would we pay somebody to sit there?
Nobody likes doing customer service under the majority of the contexts and situations that customer service is in. There are a handful of people who like their handful of cushy customer service jobs that are barely customer service jobs. That's fine, keep those ones. But nobody wants to fucking work at Walmart. Nobody wants to fucking work on the ground floor at Walmart, all right? Let AI and let machines do all that shit. Can you imagine going to a store and not having to interact with anybody? Hooray!
I checked myself in the airport the last time, and I got my own boarding pass, and I did everything myself. I didn't have to talk to anybody.
Yeah, I've done that too. It's great.
No. Yeah, and then the cushy customer service is like being waited on in like a cocktail bar or something like that,
Oh, Mikey is pointing out that Chicago introduced Civilian Office of Police Accountability, or COPA, or COPA. Since the board came into action, a lot of dirty cops have been put in jail, and trust is being restored in the city, and crime is down, and police prosecution is up. These things work.
Yeah, it's getting a lot better.
Did you know about that?
That is basically a union. A civilian union getting together and being like, all right, we're going to review this shit. But it's work. And
Police custodians. Custodes. COPA apparently is the answer to that question. Very simple.
Well, the British had something similar during wartime, which was the civilian defense, the CD, right? It was more for dealing with war, but...
I don't think.
Well, I mean, the United States has like
they weren't cops, but like it had to do with like ration, distribution. It was like imagine having a military force, but
Look, the people wanted better, and they went to city council and got it done. You mean they organized on the ground, got together, said they wanted something, and then pushed that
and did it
to push that towards the city council, and the city council said, "Well,
Everything that's making you angry politically, the solution is to find people in your area who agree with you, organize on the ground, join the leftist organization you can find on the ground. Well, if you can't find one, email the national people. They will direct you to someone. That's like, I'm a member of an organization.
Time it politically convenient for those in charge right now to agree with it. Because like,
it is not right near the midterms, so.
Yeah.
But like, be convenient with it, because if it's like at a time where like that's not the issue at hand, like they'll be like, I agree with that, but then set it to the side and we'll like revisit it. But like,
I think it's good to just permanently be a member of some of these organizations. Like I'm a member of a few different organizations permanently, and we will all kind of come up with the same thing around the right time. Do you know what I mean?
You can start working on something before you're ready to present it, and you can wait till the optimal time to present it.
An issue in Ireland is neutrality, right?
Right.
We want to be a neutral country, and the government is making weird noises saying they want to take the triple lock out of the neutrality clause in the constitution. Triple lock meaning it has to be like a UN or an EU thing, our government has to agree on it by whatever. Like there's 3 locks on the neutrality before we send soldiers anywhere, and the government wants to take them out on the basis that they want to be more flexible, right? Well, this is one thing where I'm happy being inflexible. So we have an organization all over the country, Neutrality Networks, and we have one called the Tipperary Neutrality Network. Now, at the moment, it's not really doing much. But the organization is there. People are a member of this organization. And the first time our neutrality is actually threatened by a law that goes through our version of the Congress, we call it the Dáil. The first time something actually goes through the Dáil, we will have several people in place, activated and ready to go.
Yeah.
That's just one organization, but all the organizations will work like that.
Yeah.
I have another organization. I'm a member of the local Tipperary feminist group. Tipperary is the county I live in, and sometimes there's not a lot going on, but sometimes, holy shit, you need people there who are plugged into the networks and who know people and know what to do, ready to go. Yeah. So when it looks like they want to ban abortion or something, you can.
Everybody's already there. Yeah.
Yep.
It's more about preparedness for you at this point. But when it comes to the United States, the United States can't be working on preparedness right now. They need to be working on just getting that infrastructure in place.
Stop
and it's
the
not
bleeding.
right, the hemorrhaging, yeah. But the part of that problem is going to be very difficult for Americans to get together because they are currently being oppressed in ways that is difficult. Yeah. Just also, because it's difficult doesn't mean you shouldn't do it.
Yeah. Also, by the way, Americans, if any Americans are watching this, the Democratic Party is not what I'm talking about.
Right.
The Democratic Party is the Republicans minus the more obviously heinous shit. Right? You got to understand. I know it seems weird, but in Ireland, the Democratic Party would be regarded as pretty right-wing.
Same here.
And in Canada, I guess, yeah, as well. Right? You got to understand that when I say organize on the ground and find like-minded people, the Democratic Party is not it. Yep. Sorry. You just got to realize that. It's not it. So you need to find other kind of proper left-wing organizations. They exist wherever you live. I promise you, there are left-wing people who are working with labor, people who are actively out on the streets, punching nice people in the head.
System, though, in the US, it's a little difficult.
Sorry, Opie. Start again, Opie.
We're in a two-party system where it actively on the books, it's impossible for a third party to form because they'll just get sued out of the wazoo.
Also, you're in a one-party system with 2 branches.
Yes.
That's what I mean. Yes.
Yeah.
No, but it's because they work together to keep the others out. Yes. No,
it's a duopoly.
Yeah. I mean, I don't agree with Robert Kennedy, but the attempt to have a third party was impossible for him because he was getting sued in every fucking state. So the example is that if somebody else that you really want to support is going to try the same, it's going to be the same result.
What you need, which means you need to approach the problem from a different direction, which means what you need to do is you need to have something that is an organization that is not a person trying to form a party. What it needs to be is the people getting together to make change regardless of the branding.
Yeah.
But we should wrap up. What do you guys got going
on? I run next week in Chicago. I'm doing the Shamrock Shuffle. So
nice. Congratulations.
It's only 5 miles.
Only 5 miles.
I'll be doing my own Shamrock Shuffle.
I'll probably be able to get it done in under 37 minutes. So
nice.
How long is it?
Yeah. 5 miles, so it'll be like a 7:30 pace-ish, I hope.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you'll be happy with that then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Barry, what do you got going on?
Nothing. But I wanted to say a whole bunch of stuff, and now I'm not going to say it. We stopped at Plato, but I wanted to go on and talk about other philosophers of law and legal matters and jurisprudence and so on.
Oh, this is living with philosophy. We start with a little bit.
I wanted to talk about John Rawls' theory of justice and all. We didn't get to it.
Sir, would you like a part 2?
Yeah, we could do a part.
Would I? It's not about me. I'll do whatever the people want. Whatever the people want, we'll give it to them.
This isn't a democracy. I'm in charge here. We'll do a part 2.
Yeah, you're in charge. What are you talking about?
We'll do a part 2, so that way we get to do less work this week or this month. All right. Later tonight is Rum and Coke Night, so if you want to join us for Rum and Coke Night, join us for that. That starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you're interested in that, that will be for an hour to 2 hours long. So if you want links to that or you want to join in and actually call in, let me know.
Rum and Coke?
Yeah, tonight.
Rum and Coke. What, tonight? Oh yeah, it's tonight.
Yeah, Rum and Coke is tonight, and then next Saturday I have a headliner debate between Dapper Dinosaur and Fight the Flat Earth. They are debating about whether or not it is child abuse to teach children that the Earth is flat. And if you want, you can give your opinions and vote on who you think is going to win or what your opinion is on the community tab. And definitely go check out the community tab. And the Saturday after that will be Debate Pub. So if you're interested in politics and you're interested in world news, join us there. That'll be me, Dapper, Manya, and Landon. That's it for me.
Okay.
You guys good to go?
Yeah.
All right, thank you for joining us, everybody. We're going to get out of here. We'll see you next month. Bye-bye.